welcome to the Gaia update for events through the year for 2018. I'm Adrienne Elise. So I'm going to talk through the major events through 2018 and just get a view of the overall pattern of the year ahead. So we start out with some powerful eclipses with a full moon, total lunar eclipse on January 31st in Leo, and then a solar eclipse on February 15th in Aquarius, bringing this energy at 6 months in between eclipses. So we had those eclipses in the summer of 2017, and now we're moving into a new chapter, really getting into this North Node in Leo energy. The North Node is our future karma. So 2018, in November, the North Node will move into Cancer. But for the rest of, up until then, the rest of 2018 is this individual empowerment, creative empowerment, leadership empowerment happening with this North Node in Leo, South Node in Aquarius, speaking to our past karma of when we lost ourselves in the group, when we lost our individuality through technology and past evolutions. So these are the issues that we're facing right now here on the planet. And the February 15th solar eclipse moves us into the Chinese New Year on February 16th, the year of the brown dog. And check out my video about that Chinese New Year, the energy of the Chinese astrology for 2018. So we also have there's 3 eclipses in the summer. There's going to be a solar eclipse. So the solar eclipses in 2018 are not total. They're partial. The lunar eclipses are total. So the lunar eclipses have the power this year. But there is a solar eclipse in Cancer, speaking to the nodes moving into Cancer in the mid-July. And then there is the total lunar eclipse is July 27th in Aquarius, and then the solar eclipse in Leo on August 11th. So we're kind of moving into this next 6 months and really getting into the meat of this North Node in Leo activation that's happening in 2018. So the beginning of the year is marked by a rare period where all planets are direct. So this is an energy of like things really moving forward and wow, like what's happening. At the same time, things are so moving forward and the world is changing so fast that we might feel like we don't really know which way to go because our internal transformation is happening so fast. That's going to shift on March 9th when Jupiter goes retrograde. So Jupiter's been kind of cruising through this Scorpio energy, and then we'll kind of be like, whoa, wait a minute, we got to go back and make sure we got this. Jupiter in Scorpio is about cleansing the shadow. Jupiter brings light and expansion to whatever it touches. So in this case, we're looking at the shadow. Scorpio energy, death, rebirth, transformation, and sexuality. So it's clear that we're having a cleansing out on our planet of shadow energies and within ourselves, in our own life. Make the most of this Jupiter in Scorpio energy. So in November, not only does the North Node move into Cancer, but Scorpio moves into Sagittarius. Jupiter moves into Sagittarius. So it's home sign. So November will be a big shifting energy. So make the most of this Jupiter and Scorpio to get to the bottom of the shadow and clear this baggage that you may have been carrying this whole lifetime or many lifetimes. And this is also happening in our world. Scorpio is not scared to go into the depths and find out the truth and face that shadow. And that's really what's happening with Jupiter bringing the light there. Jupiter also brings luck. So, and with the harmonious aspects of 2018, the last 6 years we've been dominated with squares and oppositions and a lot of tension in the stars. 2018 is an adjustment year. It's about get your ducks in a row because we are moving into a new era and we need to adjust. We need creative solutions. We need to work together and come out of derision and duality consciousness and kind of this energy of divide and conquer within ourselves and within in our country and in the world. So this is what's trying to heal this year, and this is really highlighted by Jupiter in Scorpio, bringing the light to the shadow, illuminating the darkness, the sexual secrets, the sexual distortion, and in a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn. Now, sextiles are creative solutions. It's like, hey, you know, let's do this, because it's in elements that are either both feminine or both masculine. So in this case, we've got Jupiter in Scorpio bringing the light to the shadow in a water sign, and we've got Pluto in Capricorn in an earth sign. And so Pluto is the breaker down, destroyer, transformation, death, rebirth, and that's in the structures of our world with Capricorn, particularly the authoritarian structures of our world. And so this energy is creative. We have creative solutions available to us here to deal with this, facing the shadow and breaking down the structures of our world. And because Jupiter is going to take that retrograde, that makes the sextile last all spring into mid-May. We're going to be feeling this. So all from January to mid-May, we're feeling this like potential for creative solutions. Now, harmonious aspects aren't like the squares. They'll come and kind of bite you in the butt. But the sextiles and trines, you really have to go out and take advantage of them. So use this in your life. This light, taking the light to the shadow, so that you can break down what's no longer working, and in a harmonious way. And let's just have that prayer and blessing and sent out to the world as well, because we are really going through it with changing of structures in our political and financial systems. So we're feeling that till mid-May. Now in April, there's a big shift, and this is because, well, first of all, right after, we're going to feel that Jupiter take a retrograde, kind of like, wait a minute, we got to go back through this Scorpio energy and make sure we got down to the nitty-gritty of this shadow, facing the shadow and clearing out the muck from our lives and from our world. And then Mercury is going to take a retrograde. Now, the Mercury retrogrades are in fire signs, and that's some of the only real fiery energy this year. So Mercury, and that's kind of cool because fire has an action energy to it, and Mercury going retrograde often feels like, you know, it's like things aren't moving forward. But because our world is transforming so fast right now, I think the Mercury retrogrades this year, being in fire signs, are not going to feel so like everything's not working out. It's more like, okay, I need to take a breather before I figure out how to exactly move forward in the next way. And it's okay. Like the Mercury retrogrades will be almost like a welcome break, because we still have that action fire energy, but we're rethinking the way forward and taking that time that we need to adjust. So it's a very different energy. So on March 22nd, Mercury takes a retrograde. And so first we'll feel that Jupiter and then Mercury. So we're kind of feeling like, okay, whoa, we've been really shooting forward and all this stuff is happening in the world, and now we can just kind of adjust a little bit. And that's potent energy because that Mercury retrograde is going to go till April 15th, and that's tax day. So it'll feel really good to kind of get through that and move forward after that. And so the mid-April is a big shifting point, because on April 17th, so we got Mercury going direct, and then on April 17th, Chiron is moving into a new sign of Aries, and Chiron is a very slow-moving asteroid. It's been in Pisces, and it's moving into Aries. This is a big shift of energy. Now, Chiron kind of is an affinity and rules Pisces in a way, a ruler of Pisces, because Chiron is the wounded healer. It has this energy of victimhood that's often found in Pisces, kind of the martyr and the victim. And so this is a potent energy with Chiron, the wounded healer, moving into the sign of Aries, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and it's a warrior. And it's like, whoa, we have this huge opportunity to be like, wake up to your power and stop wallowing, stop laying down and letting the man beat you there, the man, and stand up in your power and take it back and coming out of victimhood. So that's a really potent shift in mid-April with that Mercury going direct, Chiron moving into Aries. Now then Saturn on that same day takes a retrograde. Now, Saturn moved into its home sign of Capricorn, very potent, in December of 2017, and it's going to be there for a couple years, over a couple years, but it's taking a retrograde. Now, this is really potent because we've got Chiron moving into a new sign, Uranus moving into a new sign, but they're also going to retrograde back out into the sign they were in before. And that's usually what happens. This is a potent message in the fact that Saturn is not going to go back into Sagittarius. Saturn has committed. This is very Saturn-like, right? Saturn has committed to this path of being home in Capricorn. So it'll take its retrograde at 9 degrees, go back to 2 degrees, not all the way back into Sagittarius. It is in Capricorn. We are feeling it. That's the law. That's Father God, time coming down. There's a lot of energy of facing reality. But there's also a lot of energy of grounding out, coming home, getting organized, incarnating, bringing your light to the earth finally, rather than just kind of floating above and kind of being in denial about what's happening. It's like, no, there's stuff going on. It's time. We've waited for lifetimes to get to this point, and it's happening now. So it's time to come to earth and bring all the parts of yourself home. So it's a potent energy. And now with with Saturn taking that retrograde, it's going to go back through these early degrees of Capricorn. And the same thing with Jupiter is kind of like, okay, are we really ready? Like, are we ready to face reality? Have we done it? Have we made this adjustment? So the Saturn retrograde is actually going to be kind of helpful to adjust to this Saturn and Capricorn energy. And it's about finding balance and equilibrium in this new reality, in this 2018 energy. And so it's going to be kind of retracing those steps and kind of getting oriented. So I think that will be helpful, even though Saturn is an action planet. So when it's in retrograde, we do feel a little bit like, can I move forward? But that's kind of indicative of 2018. Until we get to the fall, there'll be a lot of energy of moving forward, but it's a reorientation year with Mars. We're having a Mars retrograde, our main action planet. And so this is an adjustment year. And so we're figuring it out and adjusting to these changes and going through these transformations in that new path ahead, that new career or new projects you want to start. The fall is going to be really ripe for that. So in April, in the middle of April, we also have that second run of that Jupiter square Jupiter sextile Pluto, excuse me. So that is the second part, but because of that Jupiter retrograde, we're feeling it all the way from January until mid-May. And so, but in April, that's when it's exact again. April has, okay, we're facing reality, we're getting empowered, we're coming out of victim, we're moving forward with our new understanding based on that fiery Mercury retrograde. And we are having, so then we're having that Jupiter sextile Pluto and these creative solutions to the changes that we're trying to make. And so mid-April is really kind of a potent energy to be able to shift your thinking and shift your life and kind of get oriented. So then May is also really powerful because mid-May is, that influence of that Jupiter sextile Pluto goes to mid-May, and then mid-May and May 15th, we have a big change with Uranus, who stays 7 years in a sign, moving into Taurus. We've had this whole 7-year period of time with Uranus and Aries. Uranus, the awakener, the revolutionary planet, lightning fast change, information coming in the sign of Aries. It's kind of explosive, and it's kind of like hard to get a grasp on, really. It's like, who am I? And we've been in this revolution around our identity and who are we and our right to exist and what it means to be human. Now we're going to bring that home to earth as Uranus comes into Taurus. That's a huge shift of energy. And Taurus rules our values. It's ruled by Venus and embodiment, the physical body and the earth. And so it's like, okay, yeah, time to come home. A lot of messages about coming home, bringing your light into your body, fully incarnating, indigo, starseeds, it's time. And so Uranus is also disruption, and it brings that lightning fast change, that kind of flashes of insight. And so that's going to be around the earth, our communication with earth, our connection with earth, our relationship with Mother Earth. And so there's a lot of energy there to really invite ourselves back into a better relationship. That was really spoken to with that January 31st lunar eclipse conjunct Ceres. Ceres is about our connection to the earth and nourishing and nourishment and renewal and grief and kind of finding that nourishing, what nourishes us in this world. And Mother Earth wants to nourish us. We've just been kind of not in connection to our living, breathing Mother Earth, and Uranus affords this. And Uranus is also a disruptor. It kind of is like, you know, like bringing that lightning, the lightning flashes, and you see things in a new way. And that is going to be around our patterns, the patterns, stuck patterns that we've been doing the same thing over and over and kind of rattling our cage a little bit. But that is going to be really good, because the whole point is going to be feeling safer, feeling better, and more embodiment. That is really the energy of Uranus in Taurus. So that is going to be mid-May. We're going to feel that big shift. Now, it's kind of cool because right after we have that Jupiter sextile Pluto and we're feeling that kind of leave us, we're moving right into a beautiful trine. This is with Jupiter and Neptune. So Jupiter's in bringing the light to that Scorpio energy, into the shadow, into the secrets, clearing house. And then trining up with Neptune. And Neptune is our connection to the cosmos, to the whole, to the bigger picture. So really beautiful energy about, like, when we clear this baggage and we face the truth, we can see that we have a wider, bigger connection. When we're bogged down with these delusions. So Neptune also rules delusions. So it's kind of like there's this harmonious energy because we're facing the truth with and cleaning up the messes of the shadow with Jupiter in Scorpio, and then Neptune in Pisces, it's home in Pisces. And so this expanded connection, but also with that, the truth energy of Scorpio coming up in a harmonious connection with our delusions, and that helpful creative solution energy to releasing delusions and seeing the truth, but also claiming back this connection, very spiritual energy coming in. This is from May 25th to June 13. And so we're really going to be feeling that. And that moves us into June. June is a magical month. There is all kinds, so we've got that energy going on in June with Jupiter trining up with Neptune, expanding our spiritual connection. So it's kind of cool because we've got this coming home to earth energy, facing reality with Saturn and Capricorn, but also like the reality is also that we're spiritual beings. We're not our physical body. We're so much more. We're God particles. You know, we are the cosmos incarnated in a body. And this body is just what we're using right now. We're so much bigger and we never die. So a huge spiritual awakening available for people. June is such a sweet energy because all of June we're going to be feeling, it's exact on the 16th, but all of June we're going to be feeling this grand water trine. And this is an energy between that Neptune in Pisces, Jupiter in Scorpio, but then Pallas Athene in Cancer. Now, Pallas Athene is our warrior goddess who works through diplomacy and intellectual arts of negotiation to be able to bring peace and harmony for people without war. And this is a beautiful, beautiful energy for us right now. It's creative solutions and diplomacy. And this water energy, it's like, go ahead and let yourself feel nurtured and held and supported in this world and move those stuck emotions. This will be really awesome to move. It's kind of like Jupiter's been lighting up the shadow and we've been kind of dealing with it as much as we can. And then this watery energy of June is going to be kind of like, go ahead and let it wash away. You know, let it wash away and release those stuck heavy emotions. So we're going to feel that all of June. And then we have, of course, in June, the summer solstice. And that happens on the 21st, the first day of summer. Now, the day after, on June 22nd, there's a really kind of interesting, beautiful thing happening. Venus in Leo, so that's speaking to the North Node in Leo, and Venus is our value system, very activated this year with Uranus moving into Taurus. And then it's opposing, on the other side of the sky is Mars in Aquarius, and Mars is our action planet. Mars takes a retrograde this year, so very kind of potent energy here too. But the goddess, our female and our masculine side, are looking across at each other. And oppositions have some magic because it's like tension, tension, tension. But when they're exactly opposite, there's clarity and healing and power that comes. And so I just thought that was really cute, that and sweet, a sweet energy that Venus in Leo, kind of shining the light of the goddess and claiming your power and your feminine power. And then Mars is this, we're rethinking our way forward into the Aquarian age. How do we take action in this new world we're moving into? And that's about what the Mars retrograde is going to be about. And Mars will already be in its shadow by then. So Mars takes a retrograde on June 26th. So Mars will be in its retrograde shadow. It takes a retrograde in Aquarius, really powerful. So that Venus opposing Mars on the 22nd is just kind of saying, so this is interesting because it's in Leo and Aquarius, and that's of course where the eclipses happen, and it's halfway between the eclipses. So halfway between the eclipses, our feminine planet and our masculine planet have a little showdown and are bringing us clarity, shining light on the way forward, and also empowering the goddess to express herself, that it's safe. Now we're clearing the shadow, and it's okay for the feminine to feel safe in this world again. So we all have male and female within us. So it's not necessarily males and females that we're talking about here. So that's a really sweet energy. And so Mars takes that retrograde. It's already going to be in shadow in June. And so June, July, and August are going to be this Mars retrograde energy. And Mars is our main action planet. And it's like, you know, our warrior, like, let's go, let's do some stuff. And Mars retrogrades can be kind of like, ooh, you know, uncomfortable, because it feels like the warrior's kind of, you know, there's no work for the warrior. You know, he's kind of like off duty, and it can feel a little bit like, oh, where am I going? What am I doing? Like, you know, a feeling of wanting to move in your life. This summer, it's not a time to make big action steps. We're adjusting, and just if you know that ahead of time, it'll help so much. And what we're doing is, with Mars taking retrograde in Aquarius, it's about how do we move forward in the Aquarian age, in this new energy. We've got to readjust. So it's good. It's good we're getting this Mars retrograde. And so that goes until August 27th, but we're feeling it already in June, July. So it starts June 26th, goes till August 27th. And then on the 13th of August, it goes back into Capricorn. So that's kind of a potent energy. And then it turns direct on the 27th. On September 11th, very potent energy. It moves back into Aquarius, okay? So that's when we're gonna be like, okay, we can move now. We're gonna move into this new age. We're gonna make it happen. So September is kind of starting this era of energy around, you know, putting those projects, the new career, you know, new launching things in this, taking action in a new way in the fall. So that is going to start around September 11th. 11's a power number this year because 2018 adds up to 11 in numerology. And that's a master number, a creative number. And it's also the house of Aquarius, speaking to this. It's like a gateway into the new world. You know, it's a gateway into that next level of being, a portal energy. So this 2018 is an adjustment energy and a portal energy, and we can't quite shoot off into the future. It's like a train in the roundhouse. And if you shoot off too soon before we get that Mars retrograde going on and understand that, then you might end up in the wrong direction, have to come back and backtrack. So just sit tight this summer and let this inner adjustment happen, because then you'll really be able to move forward. Now, the other thing that's going to be part of this is that on July 26th, Mercury takes a retrograde. So Mercury and Mars, our two main action planets, are going to be retrograde at the same time, and it's going to feel like, oh, what is going on? You know, so Mercury is rethinking things, and Mars is rethinking our action and the way we want to move forward. And so we need to change our thinking in order to be able to move forward. Now, Mercury's retrograde is in Leo in August, July 26th to August 19th. So what that means is that Mercury is going to conjunct the sun right before that August 11th solar eclipse. So Mercury is a messenger. We're getting big information this year about this new age, and also about the North Node in Leo and how to move forward. And so Mercury is kind of helping us understand this individual personal empowerment that's so important as we move into the future, claiming our light and claiming our creativity, claiming our joy, and these new leaders that are getting activated, new indigo leaders, empowering them to the light, to the world stage, and lead us into this new age where our world, our systems, our structures work better for everyone. And so that is a potent activation energy. But with both of those planets retrograde during August and July, the end of July, we're going to be like, it's just not a time to make big, huge steps forward. Just enjoy the summer, enjoy those months. So around the 8th to the 10th of August is when Mercury is in retrograde, hits the sun. And then on the 11th is that eclipse. So eclipses always bring information. So an eclipse with, you know, the sun and the moon and Mercury together, it's like there's information coming down the pipes, you know, major downloads in that August time. And that's kind of a thing too. It's just like, well, you know, how can you move forward when you don't have the information you need and you don't know how to move forward in this new age? We've got to adjust. We got to, you know, when you're in, you know, say you're going, taking a portal out to another cosmic location, right? And when you're in the portal, you can't take any steps of action. You got to wait until you arrive. And 2018 is pretty much a portal, and we're coming out of that portal kind of starting just in September. And so that on September 11th, the portal number. And so that is going to be a huge energy of healing and release of the past and being ready to leap into the future, starting your new project, starting your new career, and having that clarity. Now, one thing that also is going to really help with this clarity is that from August 21st to September 21st, we're going to feel this all of July and into October. So, you know, we've got these planets in retrograde, rethinking our action, rethinking our way of seeing things. And then we've got Saturn trining up with Uranus. So Saturn in Capricorn, home, reality, your true path, and facing, you know, the man, facing all these obstruction energies that have kind of felt like they were in your way, but actually urging you to face your karma so you could get on with your true path. But so that energy, trining up a harmonious energy with Uranus. And we felt this for the last 2 years on and off, but Saturn was in Sagittarius and Uranus was in Aries. So now we have them in earth signs. They were in fire signs. Now we have Saturn Capricorn trining Uranus in Taurus at the very early degrees. So speaking to moving into this new era of embodiment and coming home to earth and facing reality and kind of having to look at the shadow and clear the shadow so that we can build a better new world. And so Uranus is information a lot of times when it's coming into aspect with other planets, and Saturn is like that true path, that reality. So information coming in about Taurus, the earth, information about the earth, what's the truth about our planet, our origins of history. And Saturn is our true path as our authoritarian structures in Capricorn, but our true path, the humanity and its evolution, our true karma, like what's really going on. And that's really harmonious. So it's like all of this reorienting with Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, and Saturn trine Uranus. It's like new information coming in about our true path. And we're going to feel that all the way till October 20th about. And so the other thing at the same time, so this is cool because that's very harmonious energy, and Uranus can be disruptive, but when it comes into a trine, it's saying this can be harmonized. We can harmonize these changes. We can get the information we need and just gradual adjustment, you know, that's what the trine is about. And then, but Saturn makes a square to Chiron as well. This is July, August, and September. So these years of this, I mean, these months of the summer are just massively adjusting. And it's just going to be like, you know, we're in the center of the portal around that eclipse season, and with Mercury and Mars retrograde. And so Saturn square Chiron, we've also felt on and off for the last couple of years, but Saturn was in Sagittarius and Chiron in Pisces. So now we're going to have Saturn in Capricorn and Chiron in Aries. Now these are cardinal signs speaking to that Pluto-Uranus square. And now all the T-squares we've had over these last years have been cardinal. Cardinals are starters. It's time to start this new way on the planet. We've got to start getting ready. You know, 2019, 2020, the astrology is potent and powerful. In 2020, we've got Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto coming together, and the south node of the moon in Capricorn. Whoa, talk about facing reality and changing of the guard, and major breakdown of, you know, it's like complete release of what's not serving us anymore in the structures of our world. And so we're preparing for that. This 2018, 2019, so 2018 is the portal preparing us for 2019, 2019 for 2020. It's just we're in the cooker right now. And it's just kind of going to be like that. But that, you know, take advantage of 2018. It's an adjustment year. It's coming home, getting grounded, adjusting to these new energies, and kind of being willing to go through that portal and let go of the old so that we can start creating the new and exciting. And that's what I'm saying. It's time for light workers have been like kind of twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the world to catch up with them. And it's like, now it's time. Wake up, it's time. And so 2018 is that wake up call. So so this Saturn square Chiron is kind of old versus new, because we had this with them in other signs, in mutable signs, and now in cardinal signs. And so Saturn in Capricorn, facing reality, and Chiron in Aries, that empowerment of the woundedness coming out of victim. And so that's kind of like old versus new. Capricorn's kind of like the laws, the way we've done things. And then Chiron moving into Aries, that's the spark, a new beginning, and that empowerment of our victimhood. And so the victimhood energy and the persecution energy and the being a prisoner and all that doesn't have any place in the new structures that we're building. Okay, the new structures, we cannot move forward with this same way of doing things of a very small amount of people in dominating control of the financial and social structures of our world anymore. It's not going to fit. We're evolving, and we've got to change our world, and that's what's happening. It feels a little disconcerting, but it's a good thing. And that's the thing about this, like Jupiter in Scorpio, when you first kind of come across that shadowy energy and the secrets and what's been hidden from us, and what, you know, this is in your personal life and also in the world. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't feel good to look at those secrets. It doesn't feel good to have to change your perspective and open your mind and have to look at the shadow and what's been hidden. But you feel so much better afterwards. You know, it's like there was this kind of elephant in the room and a big pit of despair, and you were kind of walking around it trying to avoid it, right? And Jupiter saying, no, we're going to go in there and we're going to clean up this pit of despair so that we don't have to keep falling into it, and so that we can build something new and better. So really, really potent energy around that. So so then in July 26th, that's July, August, September, is that Saturn square Chiron, the old versus the new. How do we make these changes? How do we get on our true path? How do we come out of victim and claim our empowerment? So on July 26th to August, we already talked about that Mercury retrograde. So that goes until August 19th. And so again, we're going to start feeling forward motion, but not really until Mercury gets back in, until Mars gets back into Aquarius on September 11th. That's when we're really going to be feeling the forward motion from that stuff, from those retrogrades. So on July 12th, there's a solar eclipse in Cancer, because we're getting a foreshadowing of the North Node moving into Cancer. The North Node the nodes move backwards through the signs. And so it's been in Leo for this last, will have been for a year and a half. In November, it moves into Cancer, very big shift of energy in November, a bunch of stuff happening. But so the first solar eclipse is very wide. It's just barely an eclipse, but it's foreshadowing that North Node in Cancer energy. And because of it's in Cancer, the sun, the moon is in Cancer, no, it's a solar eclipse, so the sun and the moon are in Cancer, opposing Pluto. So, whoa, potent energy there on July 12th. And then July 27th, and this is in the midst of this retrograde energy, right? Then on July 27th, that's when the total lunar eclipse in Aquarius happens, bringing in information about this powerful new age in conjunction with Mars. So the moon in the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius is going to be hanging out there with Mars in retrograde in Aquarius, figuring out, it's kind of like, say you're trying to make, say you're at, in an organization working with other people and you're trying to create new projects, but there's this kind of like stuff that you didn't resolve from before and some stuff that was shady dealings or whatever. It's like you can't move forward until you deal with the shady dealings. You gotta, that's kind of where we're at. We're figuring out how to move forward in this new age. So then on August 11th, so that Mercury retrograde is in Leo, and then just before the Mercury, when it's retrograde, just before the August eclipse, Mercury comes into a conjunction with the sun in Leo. So the solar eclipse, the sun and the moon and Mercury, like we talked about, all together on August 11th. So again, we have this 11 energy speaking to us. So that the solar eclipse on August 11th in Leo, the sun and the moon and Mercury right there, while Mercury is in retrograde. So we got Mars when it's in retrograde hitting the total lunar eclipse, then the solar eclipse, Mercury is hitting. And so, wow, we're reorienting. And again, the energy of like, not until September are we really ready to kind of come out of this portal and see where we ended up, so just sit tight through those summer months and just enjoy yourself. So in September, we're really going to start feeling these shifts. From August 21st to September 26th, we talked about the grand water trine. Now we have a grand earth trine. This is between what we talked about, Saturn and Capricorn, Uranus and Taurus. They're in their new signs. They're getting oriented on Earth. And then a beautiful grand earth trine with Pallas Athene in Virgo. Now Virgo wants to clean up. Virgo is the virgin, the goddess, wants to discriminate, wants to see the truth, wants to separate the wheat from the chaff. And with Pallas Athene there, that's about this diplomacy and solutions that work for everyone and nonviolent intellectual and negotiation skills. We really need that. It's like we're moving into new earth, and we've got to be willing to see both sides of the story. We've got to be willing to get out of this divisive derision of us and them and this divide and conquer energy and kind of come back. It's like we're all inhabitants of this planet and we all want the same thing. We've just been programmed to stay in aggression with each other. And Pallas Athene is like, this isn't going to work. We're not going to be able to move into New Earth and the Aquarian age, with violence and opposition as the answer. So really great energy there and helpful in this embodiment coming home to Earth, light workers this fall, September. It's like we're landing, coming through the portal to New Earth, and then we got to land and start these new projects. And it's going to be cool. So September 9th, we're going to be feeling this from August 8th to September 28th. There's a cardinal T-square. So we talked about the cardinal energy. It's this wanting the square energy, wanting cardinal signs are the starters, the instigators. They're paving the way. They're the initial inspiration and kind of making the big first movements and umph, and this is what we need in this world right now. This is with Saturn and Chiron. We talked about in Aries, Saturn in Capricorn, and Chiron in Aries, and then Ceres. So Ceres played such a powerful role in the original lunar eclipse on January 31st. And this is around death and rebirth and renewal energy and our nourishment, what makes us feel nourished, and our communication with Mother Earth. And we all feel like, you know, our culture is not that nourishing right now. You know, there's a lot of people suffering in our country and on the planet. And now Ceres will be in the cardinal sign of Libra, which is about solutions, seeing both sides of the story, diplomatic, very similar to that Pallas Athene energy. And so really great because it's kind of like, it's kind of standing up and saying, okay, we want to be empowered. We want to create new structures. We want to get on our true path, come home to earth, face reality, and the most important thing, to be able to do that, we've got to receive nourishment again, come back into communication with Mother Earth, and make sure that it's fair for all of us. You know, there's an egalitarian equality energy with the age of Aquarius, and Saturn in Capricorn is about integrity and doing the right thing. And then Chiron in Aries is that empowerment, you know, coming out of victim, standing up for yourself. We all, the Aquarian energy, you know, is that we're all the same on this certain fundamental level, and we all deserve the same. You know, we all are worthy of the same basic human rights, you know, and that has been not at all the way the world has been. And so that's a big cardinal, or squares are like tension that is like change that needs to be created. And so there's tension there, but it's cool because we also have that grand earth trine with those diplomatic solutions. So, and then the other cool thing is that we're having the third pass of that Jupiter sextile Pluto, and Jupiter in Scorpio, sextile Pluto in Capricorn, and it's that creative solution. So we've got diplomacy, we've got nourishing both sides of the story, and understanding that we're all connected on the earth. And then we've got this creative solutions of kind of working together, like, okay, look at the shadow, face the shadow, clean it up, adjust the structures, then we got to look at more shadow, and then we'll, you know, so we're just kind of nudging along these changes in a very harmonious way with this sextile energy. And so in September, it's exact from the 5th to the 17th of September, this Jupiter sextile Pluto, but we're going to feel that throughout September. And that is just a perfect time, at the same time of this grand earth trine and the cardinal T-square. So on September 25th, though, Chiron is in retrograde and will go back into Pisces. But I think this will be good because Chiron will have this empowerment of like, hey, I'm not going to just lay down and take it. You know, like I'm not going to just put up with this treatment. I'm going to stand up for myself. And then going back into Pisces is kind of like completing and understanding that woundedness of the Piscean age and the martyrdom and the distortion of the Christ mysteries, and kind of claiming true empowerment. And the other thing that's available is that the wounded healer can come back. Part of the deal with the wounded healer and that whole archetype is that they feel like, and this is pretty much how all the indigos and often the star seeds feel, is like you've been dropped off here in this crazy evil planet without any support, unable to use your skills, and, you know, no way forward to be able to, you know, like feeling like you're responsible for the pain on the planet and yet no way to help. And that's an illusion. And a big part of this is a karmic kind of setup around feeling disconnected from your source. And that is actually not true, because we're made of that. You know, we're made of cosmic energy, God, whatever creator source is within us. We're a fractal of that. So how can we be disconnected from it? That's an illusion. And so it's kind of cool, as Chiron going back into Pisces after the empowerment and being like, okay, whew, wow, that was a difficult, you know, all these lifetimes, there's been persecution and difficulties, but, you know, I'm held by the cosmos. I've reconnected to my higher self. I feel cared for, and I understand the bigger picture of why I've gone through all this pain, and to kind of complete those martyr issues and victimhood energy of Pisces, and then in 2019 we'll move back into Aries and be able to really claim it. So in October, is when we have the Venus retrograde. So it's a potent year with a Mars retrograde and a Venus retrograde happening. And so Venus retrograde only happens once every year and a half or so. This Venus retrograde, get this, in Scorpio. So, and right at the very end of Jupiter in Scorpio. So Venus won't hit Scorpio, Venus won't hit Jupiter until after it's retrograde, but really potent energy going back over the degrees, that Jupiter's been going over this year. And the Venus is our value system. It's our feminine parts, what we love, what makes us feel good and comfortable, the ruler of Taurus and Libra. And so it's like we have to adjust our value system and our self-worth as female and our feminine parts of ourselves, both men and women, in our intuitive, creative, sensitive, empathic, emotional side. We have to empower ourselves there. We have to claim our empowerment by going into the shadow of Scorpio and making sure we got that all cleaned up and adjusting our value system, right? So you could kind of see how your relationship, based on hiding the shadows and not talking about the truth, and going through all of this path of 2018, getting to that Venus retrograde and being like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me anymore. A rehash in relationships and in value systems, what you really want, what you really care about. And that's necessary to adjust to everything that this year is going to be about. And so on October 31st, Halloween energy moving back into Libra in its retrograde. So Venus will be in retrograde on Halloween, and then moving into its home sign of Libra, though, and kind of going like, so it'll be interesting because there could be breakdowns in relationships around this value system change and around like what's come forward in the shadow work over this year. But then Libra's like, well, it's okay, we'll make it work. So it's kind of like, I could see relationships kind of falling apart, getting back together, falling apart around, rehashing, making this different story, and either deciding whether it's good to move on together or not around Halloween. And then actually in December, because on December 3rd is when Venus goes back into Scorpio. And so it will be completing its retrograde and coming out of shadow there later in December. And that's when and it's perfect. We got to the end of the year and we need a new value system. We have to adjust. It's like all these changes are happening now in our outside world. We're gone through the portal, we're landing on Earth, and now we have to look at our life and look at our inner life and look at our relationships and look at what we value and adjust accordingly based on what's been revealed in the shadow. And a bunch, and some that good Libra energy around diplomacy and seeing the other side of the story and working through conflict. Really great energy this whole year around working through conflict. I think relationships will make great strides in general this year. So in the mid-October, Mercury and Venus come together, and when Venus is in that retrograde in Scorpio. So that'll be, I think it's only happening for 2 days, but it's pretty potent energy with Mercury the messenger, and in having moved out of, it was in, did that retrograde in Leo, and then now it will have moved into Scorpio and meets up with Venus retrograde. So it's going to help us understand, everything that's happened in this year. So clarity coming in mid-October. And November is where just like, it's like the ground under our feet's going to change. Maybe that's that energy of like, we come through the portal and we're like looking around, and then we finally figure out where we are in November. So on November 1st, we're feeling this from September 20th to December 13th. We have a beautiful trine between Jupiter in Scorpio at the very end of Scorpio. It's getting ready to move into Sagittarius, trining up with Chiron back in Pisces. Okay, so Chiron went back into Pisces. It's reevaluating the victimhood, reevaluating whether or not it, has the wounded healer has permission to connect back with source and connect with its higher self. And Jupiter in Scorpio there, the very end degrees, that's cleaning up the nitty gritty of the shadow, but it's harmonized, so it's kind of like, that's when we can really release the victimhood from our whole story, our whole reality, based on facing the shadow and going down into that nitty-gritty of what we might have missed throughout the process. So we're going to feel that all the way through December 13th. And November 2nd, we'll feel this from October 15th to November 17th. There's this wild thing happening in the sky called an envelope. And what this is 2 oppositions and 2 sextiles. And so we'll have Chiron there in Pisces, the very end degrees. These are all at 28 degrees. It's exact. And so Chiron at 28 degrees Pisces, hanging out there trying to figure out about this victimhood thing, opposing Pallas Athene in Virgo. And so, and Pallas Athene is that, wanting to find diplomacy, and Virgo wants to clean up the feminine and be the virgin and the purity, the pure soul and the pure essence, and clean up the messes. And so Pallas Athene is saying, let's get clearer with the truth, and then that's going to really help with that kind of coming out of victimhood energy and get clarity on that. And then the other opposition is Juno. Now Juno rules committed partnerships and marriages. This is where I feel like 2018 can be, relationships can take it to another level. There will be that relationship test with that Venus retrograde energy that will be happening, October through November. And then, but there's this empowering energy with Juno at the end of Taurus. Is committed partnerships, also business partnerships. It's not necessarily, it's people who have committed to working together. Soul team energy, soul team members showing up. Opposite Jupiter at the very end of Scorpio before it goes to its home sign in Sagittarius. So it's like illuminating committed partnerships and strengthening them, or breaking down or helping break down the ones that aren't serving anymore. And then we have a sextile between these planets so we have, a trine, excuse me. So a trine between Jupiter and Chiron, and a trine between Pallas Athene and Juno, the goddesses. So there's 3 asteroids and Jupiter hanging out there. Jupiter bringing the light to these asteroids and to 2 goddesses and Chiron. And so these trines, energies, very harmonious between earth signs and water signs, and then sextiles. And it's an envelope is what it looks like in the sky. And it speaks again to that portal energy. It's like, whoa, you're being pulled through this envelope. And that has to do with diplomacy, committed relationships, and our coming out of victimhood and shining the light right before Jupiter moves into its home sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter loves being at home in Sagittarius, and that's going to happen on November 8th. So this is when it's at the very end degrees there, and that'll be a big shift. So November's huge because we've got this envelope, and we've got the North Node on the 7th. The North Node moves into Cancer, and then on the 6th, Uranus is retrograde. It's going to move back into Aries, going back to understand about our revolution of the self, who we really are, and that claiming of that empowerment of our new way of being in the new world. So Uranus back into Aries, North Node moves into Cancer, and then Jupiter moves home in Sagittarius. Bam, bam, bam. So that's like changing the ground under our feet. Feeling in November, but we're ready for that because we've gone through all this. We've gone through the portal. We're ready for the new. And on November 13th, kind of culminating all this, we feel this from October 28th to November 22nd. This is a T-square with Mars in Aquarius, still in Aquarius, still recovering from that retrograde, and Juno in Taurus, and then Jupiter just having moved into Sagittarius. And so this is a T-square, and it's interesting. So 2 of the planets are in fixed signs, and then Jupiter in a mutable sign. Home in its mutable sign. So it's saying we can expand this, we can expand our relationship to the earth, our committed relationships to each other, and now we're figuring out how to move forward with that Mars in Aquarius at the end degrees of Aquarius. Now we're understanding how we want to take our action steps as we move into the new world. So great energy there in taking those big steps towards your new career, towards your new project, what you want to create this fall and into 2019. So on November 16th is when Venus goes direct, and that will kind of feel like, whoa, okay, just kind of coming back, reorienting in our value system. And of course, not until December 3rd will it go back into Scorpio. So we won't really feel out of the shadow of that until December. It kind of takes us through into the end of the year. Now, there's a potent energy that takes us into 2019, and this is where we'll complete the story here. We'll start feeling this on December 22nd, right at that winter solstice. So these solstice and equinox markers this year are really potent. And so December 22nd, right after that winter solstice, we're going to start feeling this. Now, Pallas Athene again, Pallas Athene in Libra this time. And so Libra is about diplomacy, and it's kind of cool, these energies coming together, because Athene is kind of very comfortable here with this diplomacy and finding solutions through intellect and the art of war, not having to go into battle and being able to work it out through diplomacy. And so Pallas Athene in Libra, so more Cardinal square. This is instigating, starting, and tension around the new. And then Uranus is still in Aries, and then Pluto in Capricorn. So this is a T-square energy, and it'll be kind of loose coming in together and coming apart, but we're going to feel that all the way through into the beginning of April 2019. So this is the energy that's going to take us through into 2019, and it's about diplomacy and seeing what's best for everyone and working for the good of the people, and through nonviolent ways. And we've got Uranus in Aries, this kind of empowerment. With Uranus going into Taurus back into Aries, it's about completing the lessons of Aries, and that we have a right to be who we are. We all have a right to think what we want, to believe what we want, to be who we really are. Why? Because we're all the same in the end. We all live on the earth. We all want the same thing. And so, and then Pluto, the breaking down of the structures. So that T-square, it's speaking to that Pluto-Uranus square that we went through over these last 6 years. And this cardinal energy saying it's time, there's tension around moving into the new age, but we've got diplomacy. And we know we all want the same thing in the end, and we can work together to make this happen. We can allow individual liberty and keep ourselves safe together and unity at the same time. But in order to do that, we're gonna have to break down the structures the way that we've always done things, because it's not serving us, humanity. And that's what this year is about. It's an adjustment to the breakdown of structures and creative solutions through diplomacy, empowerment of both the male and the female. So I wish you a wonderful 2018, and I look forward to checking in with you throughout the year to keep up with all of these events. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful year ahead. I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.